Hey everybody, welcome to Pack 1 Pick 1 number 212 on the Mana Leek. I'm John as always, and we've got ourselves another pack of Throne of Eldraine that we're going to open up here. We don't just open those up and say, haha, look what I got. We talk about what we would Pack 1 Pick 1 out of this. We go in deep for a draft discussion here. Now each week, the people over at patreon.com/manaleek who absolutely keep this channel going, anybody at the $5 level or above gets their chance to get any of the cards, all the cards, some of the cards out of the pack, whatever they happen to want. And this week, it's Jay Alora. But let's open up this pack, see what's in it, and see what we would take Pack 1 Pick 1 if this wasn't draft. There we go. That was a hard pack to open. Up first, we've got ourselves a Raging Redcap. Raging Redcap is 2 and a red for a creature Goblin Knight. It's got double strike, and it's a 1/2. It's fine. There's a lot of ways to pump this. There's a lot of ways to put counters on it. It is just totally fine in a number of red decks. I don't hate playing a couple of these. They're fine. They're nowhere near a first pick, but they're fine. Up next is Lonesome Unicorn. Lonesome Unicorn is 4 and a white for a creature unicorn with vigilance. It's a 3/3. You can also cast Rider in Need. 2 and a white for a sorcery adventure. Create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. This card's great. It's 2 creatures in 1. 3 mana for a 2/2 vigilance is not amazing, but it's fine. And 5 mana for a 3/3 vigilance is not amazing, but it's fine. And when you put those both on one card, well, it becomes fine plus plus. This card's fine. Plus plus. It's not a first pick. Up next is Witching Well. Witching Well is a single blue mana for an artifact at common. When Witching Well enters the battlefield, scry 2, pay 3 and a blue, sacrifice Witching Well, draw 2 cards. This card's great. It just does everything I want to do in every blue deck. In blue-red, draw a second card. It draws my second card. In blue mill, it draws me cards to refill my hand to keep the mill going. In control, I can keep up my counter spells. If I don't have to counter anything, I get to sack this and draw cards. It does everything blue wants to do. It is super solid. It is never, ever, ever a first pick. This is much more middle of the pack, but I've happily played 2 or 3 of these in almost every blue deck. They just do what you want to do. Up next is Festive Funeral. Festive Funeral is 4 and a black for an instant. Target creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards in your graveyard. I forget this a lot because every other card in the set cares about how many cards are in your opponent's graveyard. So Tiny, Drown into a Lock, the cards that are only turned on if they have 7 cards in their graveyard. This one cares about cards in your graveyard, and if you are milling them, if you're controlling them, if you're making cards go into their graveyard, you're not turning this on. So this never quite does what I want to do. I'll still play 1 usually if I don't have better cards, but it's way down the pick order list. It's not easy to turn this on, so it's never, ever, ever a first pick, and often will get cut. Up next is Curious Pair. Curious Pair is 1 and a green for a creature human peasant. It's a 1/3 with flavor text, but you could also cast Treats to Share. Treats to Share is a single green mana for a sorcery adventure to make a food. This card's good. Like, this card is way better than I feel like it should be. And again, it's probably just the fact that it's 2 cards on 1. On turn 1, making a food when you're not doing anything else, that's fine. You'll use that food later. You'll gain life. You'll sack it to a Marrowleaf Rider. You'll use it for a Wicked Wolf or something. And then the next turn, if you don't have anything to do, you have a 1/3. And it blocks pretty decently. This card is just fine. It's probably vying for like top 3 commons in green. It's realistically probably 4th or maybe even 5th, but it's shockingly fine, but never a first pick. Up next is Weapon Rack. Weapon Rack is 4 generic mana for an artifact. Weapon Rack enters the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. Tap it to move a +1/+1 counter from it to target creature. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. So there's no combat trick shenanigans going on with this, so you have to do it in the main phase. This card's not good. People play this card way too much. Way too much. Stop playing this card. It's not good. It's 4 mana to get a counter on something, and then multiple turns to get the second and third counter off of it, and it gets blown out by bounce, and there's an amount of bounce in this. Removal, there's a lot of removal in this set. It just doesn't work out enough. It's going to hurt you way more taking your turn off to cast this, putting counters onto something, hoping it all works out, and then just having a single card that costs anywhere from like 2 to 4 mana blow you out. Don't play this card. You'll win way more if you just don't play it. Up next is Beloved Princess. Beloved Princess is 1 white mana for a creature human noble. She's got lifelink, and she also can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater. There's some cute shenanigans you can do with this, putting on all that glitters, putting on, I guess, I don't know, weapon rack crap onto it. And if your opponent doesn't have a way to deal with it, well, she can probably get through for some damage. But your opponent has ways of dealing with it. They have blockers to block this that have 1 power, 2 power, 3 power, 1 or 2 power, until they can find their answer, and then you just get blown out again. Don't Voltron in sets that have a ludicrous amount of removal, and this set has a pretty decent amount of removal. So Beloved Princess, not a first pick and not a playable card in my mind. Up next is Vantress Paladin. Vantress Paladin is 3 and a blue for a creature human knight. It's got flying. It's a 2/2, but if you adamant it, you get a counter on it, so it's a 3/3. This card's super good. It's just everything that blue wants. It's a flyer. It's a 3/3 flyer for 4, which is Phantom Monster from way back in the day, which was a very good card, and this is still a very good card. If you are not 10 plus islands in your deck, maybe don't play this. Find something better. But if you are 10 or more islands, if you're mono blue especially, this card is just super good. And I wouldn't hate first picking it. I'd feel bad a little bit, but I wouldn't hate it. So it's going to hang out in frame for the time being. Up next is Hengewalker. Hengewalker is 3 generic mana for an artifact creature golem. It's a 2/2, but if you adamant it out, it gets a counter. It's a 3/3. Hengewalker's okay if you are in a mono-colored deck. It's just a 3/3 for 3. It's a Centaur Courser, and that's fine. You should play this. If you are not in a mono-colored deck, if you're much more evenly split, definitely consider not playing this card. If a 3 mana 2/2 is just not where you want to be. It's fine, though, in those mono-ish colored decks. Up next is Reeve Soul. Goodbye, Vantress Paladin. Reeve Soul is 1 and a black for a sorcery. Destroy target creature with power 3 or less. This is removal. It's great. It's super cheap. Yes, it doesn't kill the bombs in the format, but it kills stuff pretty early on, and you will pay 2 mana to kill stuff pretty early on. There's chances to get blown out by this. They cast a pump spell on it, and it counters it, or things like that. But it's a solid card, and it's the second best black common behind Bacon to a Pie. Definitely the first pick so far. Our first uncommon is Deafening Silence. Deafening Silence is a single white mana for an enchantment. Each player can't cast more than 1 non-creature spell each turn. This card's awful. It's exceptionally awful. You're handicapping yourself by only being able to play 1 non-creature in order to handicap your opponent to make them not play 1 non-creature. But how many non-creature spells are you casting in a turn? Typically 1. At most, and often none. This card is not worth a card in your deck. Do not ever, 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 ever let me see you playing this. It's bad. It's real bad. Our next uncommon is Wintermoor Commander. Wintermoor Commander is white-black for a creature human knight. She's a 2-star. She's got Death Touch. When Wintermoor, I've never read the text on this card word for word. Wintermoor Commander's toughness is equal to the number of knights you control, and then whenever Wintermoor Commander attacks, another target knight you control gains indestructible until end of turn. She's not great. She's basically just a 2/1 Death Touch. That's it. That's it. She eats removal. She doesn't work. She doesn't work. If she's got a giant butt, then maybe she's protecting you, but you don't want to be protected. You're probably in an aggro deck and attacking with your knights, which means that she has to attack, which means she's no longer back on the defense. She doesn't do anything that I want to do. And I think she's a good reason why the black-white deck is relatively weak. It just doesn't have synergy. It doesn't have anything gluing itself together. This is its uncommon, and it's not very good. I'm never first picking this card, and I actually never pick this card. Our final uncommon is Belle of the Brawl. Belle of the Brawl is 2 and a black for a creature human knight. She's a 3/2 with menace, and whenever she attacks, other knights you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. She's solid. She's solid. Make her the black-white uncommon, and she'll be pretty good. 3/2 menace for 3 is great. We love that. That is Boggart Brute from back in the core set days. She's just super fine, and the fact that she can pump all the knights on your team is amazing in black-red, and in black-white, she does what you want. She's a very good card. If this pack was super weak, which it is, I would consider first picking her, but not against a Reeve Soul, and probably not against a Vantress Paladin either. Our rare is the Circle of Loyalty. The Circle of Loyalty is 4 white for a legendary artifact at Mythic. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each knight you control. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever you cast a legendary spell, which you probably won't, create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. Pay 3 and a white, tap it. Create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. This card is stupidly nutty, crazy. It's just fantastic. It's 6 mana for an Anthem, is a little tiny bit costly, but I'd still consider playing it in some cases. The fact that this is cheaper for every knight that you control, and you're in white, you will probably have at least some knights, if not all knights or a lot of knights. And the fact that you can make 3 3s, because this is on the battlefield, for 4 mana every turn is crazy. This runs away with games. It's super hard to beat once this comes down if you don't immediately answer it with main decked artifact hate, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, this card is nutty. It's an easy first pick here. I don't think we have much of a conversation about this card. I've only played with it in 1 deck because it's a mythic. I don't see it that often, but I've seen it on the opponent side of the table a few times, and it sucks. Very good card. Easy snap first pick here. If it wasn't, I think it's a pretty easy Reeve Soul. Let me know what you have to take down in the comments below. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me over on Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook. You can find me at patreon.com/themanaleak, where if you become a backer at the $5 level or above, like Jay Alora did this week, you get your chance to get all the cards, some of the cards, none of the cards, whatever you happen to want each week from these packs. You can go over to inkgaming.com, use the promo code MANALEAK10, all one word, 10 is the number, to get 10% off your order. And the easiest way, of course, is to like, share, and subscribe. If you do have any questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you all next time. All right. Got those done.